How about now? Can you hear me now? Oh boy. All right, let's start over. Oh my gosh. All right, so I was telling the story about how, hopefully you can hear me now. Thank you so much, darling. All right, I had the microphone on mute, so we love technology. All right, rewind. Welcome to Monday Motivation Live. All right, if you're watching this on replay, fast forward to 5 minutes in where I was talking and it was so profound. All right, awesome. So as you're tapping in, say hashtag live. We are talking about the power of creating a year in review and stopping and pausing and reflecting on all of our accomplishments this year. And I'm going to give you a 3-step process that I go through. All right. Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right. So the 3-step process was because I started going through because back when I was training for my 50-mile race back in 2016, I trained for 6 months through the Buffalo Winters, y'all. I had ran a 50-mile race in California in April. So I had to train through the blizzard and the epic blizzard and tundra and ice and snow and sleet and slush, all the things through the Buffalo Winter. And I won this scholarship, actually. It was my first attempt at anything more than a marathon. And back then, I didn't think I could actually qualify for Boston. But I committed to this plan, y'all. And I actually shocked myself. I ended up qualifying for Boston. I didn't plan on it. If you don't know, if those of you out there that aren't runners or marathon runners, if you qualify for Boston, it's like the NFL of running. So you make it. All right. So anyways, so I ended up applying for this scholarship. I trained for 6 months for this 50-mile race. I ended up qualifying for Boston. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I learned about the World Marathon Majors, the Abbott World Marathon Majors. And I was like, I committed to this plan every single day for 6 months. And I was like, let me see what's possible. And I ran that 50-mile race and it was so epic. The first 20 miles were on the road. And then the last 30 were climbing boulders. And I was climbing this mountain. The last 4 miles were up a steep mountain. I had to climb boulders, single lane trails, scaling mountains. If I literally took one step, I would fall off this cliff. And it was the most epic experience, y'all, that I was like, okay, I want to run all 6 World Marathon Majors. And so I had such a beautiful experience and I celebrated the heck out of myself after that moment that I kept going. All right. And so it wasn't in the moment that I accomplished the 50-mile that it was like I knew what was possible. And only at the time, only 6,000 women in the world had accomplished all 6. So you run Boston, New York, Chicago are the US majors, and then Tokyo, London, and Berlin are the overseas majors. And I'm like, I'm going after that. I want to be one of these 6,000 women. Now there's over 12,000 now since then. But I kept going and I kept trying to improve my race time. I kept trying to get into all of these races and I kept going and going and going. So it was after that 50-mile race that I was so proud that I stopped celebrating, unfortunately. So I had to learn a powerful lesson. I think it was at the end of 2018. I had just moved twice in a year with my ex-husband for his military job. And I got to the end of the year and I had all these marathon medals and I had just kept going and 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 going. And I didn't stop and smell the roses. And so I looked down at my medals. I had finished 8 marathons in a year, y'all. Some people don't do 1 in a year. I did 8. I was constantly training. I was constantly going for that next medal and that next accomplishment in pursuit of this big goal. And so I looked back and I should have been so proud at every step, every marathon, every finish line, but I was depressed. And I looked down at these medals that were in a box. I didn't have them on the wall. And I was like, I'm not doing enough. It's not enough. And if you're feeling that maybe you got at the end of the year and you feel like you're not doing enough, this message is for you. And I have caught myself several times in this space where I feel like I have to do more. I have to prove more. I have to run more. I have to do more. I have to do more in my business. I have to help more people. I have to do. And I never feel like I'm doing enough. I never feel like I'm making a difference. And so when I do this year in review, it helps remind me of all the things that you do. I'm going to say do. All right. So this is a family show, but all the things that you do. Okay. That you have accomplished this year. So tip number 1, we're only here for a couple more minutes. I want to keep this short and sweet, just like me. But if you need support, reach out. I'm happy to help you even more. But number 1, I want you to go through your calendar. I want you to go, and this is what I do. I went through my whole entire calendar month by month, and I started with January. I said year in review at the top of my page. And I went through pages and pages, and I went through January. I started in January. So I had my phone open with my photos. All right. And I looked through my photos from January. And I also looked at the events. So I host retreats. I host several programs. I have private clients. I have all these things. I've traveled all over the world this year. And I'm constantly on the move and pivoting and seeing what else could be possible for my life, for my fitness, for my business, for my relationships, for the future of this community. And so I looked at January. I said, okay, what did I accomplish in January? What were my challenges? What were my accomplishments? What were my moments of joy and happiness and aliveness? What were my courageous moments? And I captured all of those. So I put bullets, nothing fancy. Or I said January, and I got to like relive some of those moments and put myself in the emotional satisfaction and gratitude for what we made it through in January. Okay. So I want you to make a list of all of those things. All right. What are the courageous movements that you made? Courageous decisions, maybe decisions in your business or in your career or in your family. All right. And then what were the moments that you were proud of? What experiences did you need to grow through? All right. What challenges came up? All right. So I want you to measure your progress month by month and go through it. It took me probably a good 2 hours to do this. All right. And grab your favorite cup of Java and look at this. Let your faith be bigger than your fears. So find a cup of tea, cup of coffee, right? Your nice emotional support water bottle, and just spend this time uninterrupted. I promise you, it will put yourself in such a place of gratitude. And you get to relive these moments of joy and courageousness and aliveness. So it resets your nervous system and proves to you that you have accomplished so much this year. So go through each month, okay? And so as you do that, so that's tip number 1, I need you to measure your progress. Okay, once you do that, you're going to recognize some patterns that are showing up. So step number 2 is I need you to recognize what patterns showed up in your life. Right? So what patterns did you learn through? Did you keep pouring into others? Did you maybe go after that next goal of yours? Maybe you want to run a race. Maybe you want to run a half marathon. Maybe you went after it. Maybe you actually started that business, or you wrote that book, or you stepped on that stage. All right, what lessons did you learn along the way? I need you to capture them. Because when we learn lessons, when we go after something and we learn and grow through them, that's part of the journey, my friends. It's not about accomplishing the thing. It's about the lessons learned along the way. And I learned through so much, taking courageous action and then learning and growing through the process. And so my nervous system gets used to being uncomfortable. And that's how we elevate. That's how we grow. And that's how we see what else could be possible. Okay, so learn from the lessons and the blessings. Okay, so tip number 1, measure your progress. Tip number 2, what lessons and patterns did we recognize this year? And tip number 3, celebrate the heck out of yourself. Stop and pause. What were your most proud moments? I want you to pick 1 or 2 of the most proud moments. All right. I am checking in with the chat here. I will definitely engage with you afterwards. I see some comments here. Thank you so much for tuning in and shedding your light and love and your blessings. Let me know in the chat, what were your lessons learned this year? All right. I'll continue to engage with you. If you have questions, if you need support, if you're not sure how this all lands for you and you want help working through it, send me a message. I'm happy to hop on a call. We'll spend 15 minutes. Let's go through this. I can help empower you to take some deliberate action. Okay. So when we celebrate, I want you to think about, how do you celebrate? I celebrated last week by literally going off the grid. I was unplugged. I turned my phone off. I literally stayed in the presence of nature and my breath and a community and just the beauty of the presence of being and feeling so accomplished and ready to take on the next chapter of 2026. More empowered, stronger, more fierce, more determined, being able to grow and go through the things that we're growing through. And I celebrate every step of the way, even the hard things. And I started a nonprofit this year. I spent the last 6 months in Row 10. I have been able to impact and empower so many people by living happier and healthier, and by just calming the nervous system, being on the beach, surrounded by nature and the beauty of the Caribbean, and just quieting the noise and getting back to the truth of who you are, to the core. Okay, what your heart says. Being heart-led, not led by your mind and the noise and the ego and the stories and the blame, shame, overwhelm, victim, like all the rat race that keeps us stuck. So my role in life is to help empower you to put yourself and your health first for at least 34 minutes a day, so we can reduce the stress and overwhelm of life and live a more fulfilling life. So this is Monday Motivation Live, and I'm here to help you celebrate. And I want you to detach your celebration from alcohol and sweets and that dessert. I want you to find yourself in nature. I want you to find yourself in your presence. I want you to find yourself in your breath. I want you to find yourself in the depth and celebrate that. Celebrate the non-judgment. Celebrate the depth in the heart and the warmth of your soul and the way that you're able to impact others with your message, with your health, and creating that legacy and stopping the noise and the madness and the blame and the shame and the overwhelm and the depression and the guilt, and start helping and celebrating yourself and your health. If you don't choose you and celebrate you, we can't expect everyone else to clap for us. Clap for yourself, clap for your health, keep showing up no matter what, like your life depends on it. Do your 2025 year in review. If you need support, reach out. Number 1, measure your progress. Number 2, recognize the patterns and your lessons and blessings that came from this year. Tip number 3, celebrate the heck out of yourself. And then final tip number 4, join us on December 28th, next Sunday, for the Vision Board Workshop. It's a 2-hour Zoom interactive session on Zoom. If you go to crystallaracruz.com/vision board, go grab your spot. And I hope to see you there. And I wish you the very, very best. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Let's make 2026 your best year, healthiest, happiest version of you. So let's go get it. If you need support, reach out. I love you all. Mwah. Cheers.